Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. So today we are breaking down the Max Holloway and Justing Gaethje fight. I'm going to do an early prediction on it. The reason being so is because a few months back I made a video completely writing off Max Holloway. It was much more of a satirical video. But yeah, at the time everybody was writing off Max and saying how it's just going to be a copy and paste Max from the Dustin Poirier fight, obviously a few years older. We're going to talk about why that is not the case this time around, moving up a weight class, that is. He has considerably longer to prepare the right way for this fight. Max Holloway fought Dustin Poirier. It was on a short notice. He didn't have time to fully put on the weight the correct way. He didn't have time to really acclimate to that weight, and he essentially just didn't cut any weight from what I hear. I'm sure he did cut like a little bit, but that's probably more so dieting than cutting. And yeah, let's get right into it. So Max Holloway, also known as Blessed, trains out of Hawaii, 32 years old, 5'11", has a record of 25 wins, 7 losses. 11 of those wins are by knockout, 2 wins by submission, and then 12 decisions. So it's around 50-50 for finishes and decisions. However, if you see Max Holloway fight, it's not a very good way to present his career. Even his decision wins are very fun to watch. Almost always puts on an incredible performance. Even back when he was fighting Conor McGregor, those fights were crazy exciting. His Dustin Poirier fight the first time was pretty exciting as well. Now let's take a look at his notable wins. Well, actually, hold on. His 7 losses, 6 of those have been by decision. He has been finished 1 time by submission. He's never been knocked out, and I don't believe he's been dropped, which is pretty crazy considering he's had 32 fights. And his notable wins have came over Chan Sung Jung, Arnold Allen. Chan Sung Jung he beat 23 seconds into the 3rd round. However, it was a much older Korean zombie, so not the best win. However, he's no walk in the park for anybody. Extremely tough fighter. Arnold Allen he beat by decision in a 5-round fight. Yair Rodriguez he also beat by decision. That was a crazy fun fight as well. Kind of flashy kicks back and forth. A lot of fun boxing as well. Calvin Kattar, he put on an absolute masterclass. Put an absolute whooping on Calvin Kattar. Broke multiple records that night. I highly recommend watching that fight if you haven't already. I assume if you watch this video, you probably have. He also beat Frankie Edgar by decision back in 2019. Then he also put a crazy whooping on Brian Ortega. TKO doctor stoppage at the end of the 4th round. Then what really put Max Holloway on the map was his 2 wins over Jose Aldo. Both of them were TKOs. Really kind of shocked the world. This was after the Conor McGregor fight for Jose Aldo. And previously to the McGregor fight, Jose Aldo was on this ridiculous win streak. People were calling him the greatest of all time. And he was really like quite a legend, to be honest. He still is, obviously. He's in the Hall of Fame for a reason. Previously to Jose Aldo, he beat Anthony Pettis. Won by body kick and punches, TKO. 4 minutes and 50 seconds into the 3rd round. Then he beat Ricardo Lamas by decision. Jeremy Stevens by decision. Charles Oliveira in a very weird stoppage, 1 minute and 40 seconds into the 1st round. He had an esophagus injury, which is crazy. That's the only time I've ever seen that. Also must have been very scary. I've had a lung collapse just randomly, and yeah, when something like that just kind of gives way, it's very worrying. Then he beat Cub Swanson, Andre Feely, Pat Schilling. Yeah, those are all of his big notable wins. His first loss in his career was to Dustin Poirier back in 2012. He lost by a triangle armbar 3 minutes and 23 seconds into the 1st round. His second loss was to Dennis Bermudez. Lost a split decision. Very fun fight as well. Then he had his 3rd loss, 2nd loss in a row to Conor McGregor back in 2013. Lost a decision. Then he went on a pretty insane 13-win streak where he went from pretty much a rookie in the UFC to the champion by the end of his win streak. Then he moved up and fought Dustin Poirier. Short notice, not the best representation of Max. However, he still gave Dustin a run for his money. Even though it was a unanimous decision, it was still a very fun fight. Max showed incredible heart and incredible chin, and really made Dustin Poirier respect him as a fighter by the end of that. Legendary moment. I don't believe it's the third round going into the fourth. They stood up, didn't take the full minute in between rounds, and like I said, legendary moment. Same thing in his Ricardo Lamas fight. He had another legendary moment in that where they just point to the ground and start swinging for the fences and last 10 seconds of the fight, and it was insane. That's why people love Max Holloway. The guy is just extremely fun to watch. Then in 2019, he lost both of his fights to Alexander Volkanovski. Very controversial in the second fight. Personally, I thought that Max edged it. However, I wasn't mad at all with Alexander Volkanovski getting the nod because it was an insanely close fight. If it's that close, you can't really call it a robbery. Then he beat Calvin Kattar. Crazy performance. Same thing with Yair Rodriguez. Alexander Volkanovski had their third fight, lost by the unanimous decision. That was not a very close fight. It was very sad to watch. I thought it was going to be the end of Max Holloway. Prematurely writing him off because the amount of big shots he's taken in his career. He's pretty sure he has the record for most strikes taken without being dropped, which is crazy. Now, those are his 7 losses. Even his losses, he takes in stride, and you're impressed with him for one way or another, whether it's a very close fight or he just showed an incredible heart. Now we're going to look at Justing the Highlight Gaethje. He trains out of Arizona, 35 years old, so he is getting up there in age. Also 5'11", 25 wins, 4 losses. 20 of those wins are by knockout, 1 submission win, and then 4 decision wins. So he has an 80% knockout rate, which is pretty crazy. His 4 losses have been 2 by knockout, 2 by submission. So all of them he's been finished one way or another. However, that's Justing Gaethje for you. He just bites down on his mouthpiece or will take one to give one. And yeah, just an insanely fun fighter to watch. There's a reason why this belt is for the BMF belt. His most recent win was over Dustin Poirier, knockout 1 minute into the second round by head kick. Then he beat Rafael Fiziev, won a majority decision. Then he lost to Charles Oliveira by a rear naked choke 3 minutes and 22 seconds into the first round. And he had a big win, crazy fight with Michael Chandler. That's probably one of my favorite Michael Chandler fights. It was supposed to be a 5-round fight, but I love how they pumped it down to a 3-round fight because guaranteed fireworks, and I wish they would do that a little bit more often, honestly, especially with fights like last night. Like Aaron Blanchfield and Manon Fiorot didn't really need to be a 5-round fight in my opinion. He had another big win over Tony Ferguson. That was tough to watch. It was a TKO by a punch, and Tony just kind of gave up in that fight. It was the beginning of the end for Ferguson, and for all the Tony fans out there, it was enough to make a grown man cry, let's just say that. Then he had big wins over Donald Cerrone by knockout, 4 minutes, 18 seconds into the first round. Then he had a big win over Edson Barboza by knockout, 2 minutes and 30 seconds into the first round. Then he had a crazy knockout over James Vick, made him retire, really put a whooping on James Vick after calling Justing Gaethje inbred and all this other stuff, and they made him eat those words quite literally. 1 minute and 27 seconds into the first round. Then he had a crazy win over Michael Johnson, 4 minutes and 48 seconds into the second round. Highly recommend rewatching that fight. Michael Johnson was putting it on Justing Gaethje. It was a crazy fun fight. One of the many reasons why I'm a Michael Johnson fan, especially back in the early days. He also has a big win over Melvin Gillard back in 2014 in the WSOF 15 promotion. He also has a win over Kevin Kroom, which is pretty crazy, knockout by a slam. I haven't seen that fight. I actually might watch that. He also fought Nick Newell, which a lot of people don't know of him, but highly recommend looking into that guy. He is a inspiration, very intriguing story. He has 1 arm, or 1.5 arms. He's hitting people with his nub, and pretty solid fighter, to be honest, especially considering he's handicapped. He had a shot in the UFC but didn't quite make it. I probably will do a video on Nick Newell in the future. And yeah, the reason why we're talking about this fight is because Max Holloway, as I said, he's bulked up, he's looking strong, he's looking fast, looks like he's put on the weight well, and yeah, very excited for this fight, especially if Max Holloway keeps the cardio and hits a little bit harder. That was the biggest difference in the Poirier fight first time. In the second fight, Dustin Poirier hit noticeably harder. Max Holloway didn't really have the power translate well to the move up in weight class. However, that chin held up spectacularly. Surprisingly, Dustin Poirier was tagging him with heavy shots quite often, honestly. But yeah, what are your guys' thoughts and opinions on this matchup? Do you think that Max Holloway is more or less a lamb for slaughter in this fight? Or do you think that he has a legitimate chance to shock the world and put on another spectacular performance for the fans? And yeah, remember to like, comment, and subscribe if you guys like the content. And I hope you guys have a great week and a happy Easter.